What's up, everybody? It's Clint from the Diehard MMA podcast. This show was filmed exclusively for odds.com. Make sure you click the link below, check it out. Make sure you drop a like, and good luck on all your action.
All right, so the next fight they've got listed up on here is Yanan taking on Bethe Correia. Now,
Okay.
Bethe is 37 years old, very physically strong. She's got that Brazilian booty, all lower body, big, huge, muscular, very tough to control, heavy top game. If she gets you on the mat, she is more than capable of taking you down and staying on top of you. She's a little heavy on her feet, though. Even though she's primarily a boxer, she doesn't have the sharpest boxing that we've ever seen. She's a mid-tier fighter, if we're being honest. The UFC actually released Bethe Correia back in August of last year, and she is returning as a retirement fight. They extended her contract for one more fight so that she could retire with the UFC, and it was originally scheduled for December 5th. So that one's going to be taking place a couple months later because of a positive COVID test. Now, Yanan, this girl is she goes by Mulan. She's intense. She's a young up-and-comer. I really like what I see from her. Nice footwork. She always flurries attacks and combinations. Good head movement. She rolls well with punches, and she finishes a lot of her combinations with kicks. She always attacks the legs. She's got good clinch knees, and she's got a really good get-up game. When she first stepped into the UFC, she got handled by Gina Mazzani, and that's a little concerning because if Gina Mazzani is able to take you down, Bethe Correia probably will be able to as well. But Yanan, sorry, I keep calling her Yanan, she has a good get-up game, and that's something that I really like to see from her. I think she's just going to be improving. To me, this is a fighter that is going up, one trending in the right direction versus one trending in the wrong direction, and I have very few rules when it comes to betting MMA, but one of them is you never bet on retiring fighters. You got one foot out the door. As soon as you say the R word, they've got to be all in to peak at the right time, to be in the right kind of shape, to do what they need to do in the octagon. And when you say, you know what, that's it, I'm hanging it up, I'm done, you're already mentally checked out. And most of those people just do not win that final retirement fight. One side I'm very closely looking in on. And just like you, Gianni, I haven't made any bets so far for this card. I'm looking really hard at Yanan as a bet for UFC Fight Island 7. Can you tell me anything about this one? How do you feel on this one?
Yeah, let me talk you off that bet for a second, and here's why. Yeah, I haven't placed the bet either, and I was actually looking at the other side, but I can't pull the trigger because some statistical significance that I can't overcome, and one of the biggest is age. That's just, the gap is too large. When you're talking 13, 14 years, for me, I look at things like age, reach. I just think they're so important because we have such a big sample size that, the data doesn't lie. And we've seen enough fights now that when one fighter's 13 years, 14 years older than another, that younger fighter's gone on to win 7 out of 10 times, even a little higher than that. Now, most of that has been in men's MMA. I get it. It's a smaller sample size in women's. I could get that argument maybe. So that is why I haven't pulled the trigger. But here's what I don't like about betting the favorite here. Prior to her entrance into the UFC, and she's 1-2 in the UFC. Her one win was an armbar, first round armbar. I believe there's a lot of randomness to finishes like that.
Absolutely.
But if you look at her record prior to entering the UFC, other than fighting Yana Kunitskaya, who she lost to by finish, by knockout or TKO in the second round, she fought no one. She got 10 wins against fighters who were combined 2-6. So these 10 fighters had 8 pro fights combined amongst them. So I just haven't seen the caliber of winning at this level to make me want to lay anything with her. If she was an underdog, I could see the argument. Bethe is older, 13 years older. I gave you a good stat. Those fighters tend to lose a lot. But she's in an underdog role, Bethe, right now, or at least even money. And I just don't see where I want to lay a price with the favorite in this spot. That's the only thing not to talk you off a bet. I never want to talk anyone off a winner because she should go out there and win. She's the favorite. You're supposed to win this fight. But I just think there's a lot more questions. At 24, there's a lot of time to answer them. And I think in a few years, if they fought this fight in 2 years from now, this line would be, I think, a huge discount. I'd be all over the favorite, but I just haven't seen enough to justify her in this favorite's role right now. That's my only argument.
You know, that's a completely fair take. For those of you who aren't looking, I always use shout out to bestfightodds.com. That's the website I pull up to look at the market moves for MMA. Right now, over the market, we've got Wu Yanan about a -120 favorite on average, -125 in some spots. And Bethe Correia is an even money underdog, +100 mostly across the board, some -110s out there. And, you know,
splitting hairs, man, because the edges are small. Believe me, even though in MMA as a bettor, you could find bigger edges. It's one player sports. There's not so many moving pieces, where with football, you have 11 offense, 11 defense, 11 special teams, 33 moving pieces and backups. You're not finding big edges, bro, unless you're fooling yourself. You're not. You're picking off small edges over long periods of time. That's how you make money betting other sports, team sports. But in MMA, you find bigger edges. You know, I think that's the key. But just seeing her in a favorite, yeah, and again, 120 slight favorite, but you know, she opened 140. Then Bethe went to favorite for a little bit, and then it flipped. So it looks like a little. It seems like bettors seem to be taking whoever's the underdog.
Yeah, and I can't so much argue with that. I mean, Bethe, she's got obviously a higher level of competition. She didn't do well in the UFC, but she's fought some really big names. I mean, she fought
her resume. Her resume is there.
Exactly. And realistically, this is a big step down for Bethe Correia. And really, the reason more of why I was looking to fade her is, like I said, I don't have a ton of rules or angles in MMA, but betting against older fighters, betting against retiring fighters, those are two of my bigger ones.
And that's why I haven't bet her, even though, like I said, I don't think the favorite should be. It's not a bet almost on. It wouldn't have been a bet on Bethe. It would have been a bet against. You know what I mean? A favorite, and it's not worth doing for me because, again, the age, the retirement, all those factors that you touched on, which are too difficult for me to quantify. I can't quantify that. What's that worth to the betting line? That's why I say I love listening and watching MMA analysts, and there's so many great ones out there on YouTube. Seriously, I watch your show. I love it. I learned so much from you guys because I don't know the stuff you guys know. I love like Saftik. I could listen to that guy.
Gotta love Saftik.
I could listen to him break down MMA all day. Seriously, like you just throw a name. The guy knows everything. Like, that's awesome. That, like, I don't know the game like that, but to me, it just isn't necessary to know it like that. Like, if you can't quantify to me, what's the difference between if you tell me he went from ATT to Fortis, okay, what is that worth to the betting line? If you can't tell me what that's worth to the betting line, to me, that information is pretty much meaningless. If you can't quantify that, like, I can tell you what a half point's worth. You know what I mean? Like, whether you should buy a half point. I can tell you whether you should, what those extra 2.5 minutes are worth when betting MMA, depending on the weight class, whether you should go, if you're betting the under 2.5, or you should bet the yes or no. Like there's some edges in efficiencies that you can pick off, but I can't quantify those type of things. Like, how do you quantify retirement? You can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I love that. That was fun. I mean, really, so we're looking at Wu Yanan. Maybe if we can get that line to flip again. Maybe if we can get the even money underdog spot. But for now, we're going to put it in the pass bucket.
She was a dog. She may get there again.
Maybe so. I don't know if there are enough people out in the world that are lining up to bet Bethe.
That's fans. No, not enough fans out there. Not enough Brazilians betting it.
Exactly. So